Hi, my name is Corey Thomas, and today I'd like to talk to you about why graffiti is vandalism. In between 2011 and 2016, there were 40,137 accounts of graffiti. While graffiti may be pleasing to the eye, to some it is to most it is vandalism, and it affects people and industries. So, what is graffiti? Who are the targets? And how can you protect yourself and your community? This is what I'll be talking about today. So let's start with what is graffiti? My first point I'd like to start off with graffiti is different than art. Graffiti is the drawing scribbled, scratched, or sprayed illicitly on any public surface. This makes it different than art because it is done without consent and the property is not their own. So now that we know what graffiti is, let's talk about who are the potential targets. There are some places that are targeted more than others. These places include residential, public transportation, businesses, outdoors, public places, and as you can see right here, here's a list, and you can see right here the residential, which has 1,767, which is 26.8% of all of the recorded vandalisms of 2016. You can find this along with other information at crimeprevention.nsw.gov. There are no exceptions to which places can be affected and can be vandalized with graffiti. And knowing this, I'd like to take you to my next point of how you can protect yourself and your community. So you can take these steps to make your house and your community less vulnerable to these attacks. You can do this by making it less accessible, by putting plants and other things to decrease access and availability to your property and everything around you. You can use more preemptive tactics, which means plastic or wood paneling, which can be taken down if graffiti is put on it. And you can also use a mural, which has been proven to be more effective statistically. And this statistic was found on one of the websites you can find down in the description below. And finally, involving your community can also help decrease graffiti. By getting them involved, you are making them more involved, included, and you give them a sense of feeling that they can rely on you. And now that we know what we can do to prevent it, I'm ready to close my speech. So in this speech, we talked about what is graffiti, the targets of graffiti, and how to protect yourself and your community. Graffiti may be pleasing to some, but it is still vandalism, and it affects many people and industries. Now, while yes, it is very beautiful to some, and it can be very aesthetically pleasing, if it is not done with someone's consent or approval, it is still vandalism, and it may not be accepted by all. So is it fair to do that to someone else's property if it is not your own? Most graffiti artists are juveniles, making up over 60% of all of the offenders. And I'd like to end on a picture of this house which was vandalized by graffiti. Its price had significantly dropped and the neighborhood had looked quite a bit more affected. You can find all of the links to the websites that I use below, and I'd like to thank you for listening.